So we go to the mental centers. The two centers that you see above the throat, really, they represent, well, the time machine. You know, our mind. Our mind is a time machine. You know, it has the capacity to project itself to the past and the future through what we call understanding and certain patterns that, you know, hold certain formulas, and or through what we call beliefs, or through what we call, you know, structured knowing, even though structured knowing has much more to do with the now than with the past or the future. But anyway, the realm of time, it's all a mental trip. What time do you mean? See, everything that you consider to be your past, you look back and all you see is a line that gets lost in dark. It's just a line in geometry, you know? There's nothing there, no substance. It's just a line of imagination. And you look into the future and it's just the same way, you know? It's just different circuit, different half of the brain. Logic projects itself into the future. Abstraction is the, you know, the way our mind tries to deal with the past in order to make sense out of what happened to us yesterday. That wasn't ideal. That doesn't make sense. This is the conceptual reality. And the way we deal with the conceptual reality, you see, is that it is our capacity to interpret it, to share it, is through language. After all, it is language that provided us with the advantages that got humanity up to the top of the food chain, the capacity to organize ourselves as a species in order to be the champion of the world. It is all happened through a mutation in our larynx some 80, 90,000 years ago in the heart of Africa, they say. The truth is, this is where, you know, our virtual reality happens, the I think. And the I think, I told you before, you know, to be human is to be a pressure sandwich. You know, we are the mortadella inside. You know, you get this one thing from below, this one thing from above. The pressure of the body, the stress energy we have already looked at. What we have there from above is mental pressure. You know, we call it the center of inspiration, you know, which is a nice way to talk about it. But, you know, 30% of people like myself who have this center defined, you know, basically this mental pressure, this supposedly inspiration becomes a deep anxiety. Deep anxiety, the moment one of the questions that come from there find no answer, you know? The moment the answer does not meet the facts, oops, you know, there is doubt. Doubt. There is confusion. There is this sense of mystery, or if you prefer it, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know why. Do you know why? Nobody knows why. Maybe there is no why. Mental pressure. See, you see, there are three different channels, three formats for questions. All our questions are either questions about the past, or they're questions about the future, or they're questions about who am I now? Now, in this circumstance. The way we deal with that, 70% of human beings have an open head center. Open head center. You know, when you have that center defined, I have the doubt that I need to answer. And when I am busy with one of my fixed doubts, don't you come and talk me about anything, because I have no room to give you attention. You know? The moment I get the answer, oh, you know, you can tell me about anything you want to talk to me about. I'm going to give you my answer. I already know the answer before you tell me what is bothering you. Isn't that spooky? I mean, we think we communicate just because we talk. But do you think what other people hear when you speak to them? Do you know? Because I don't. Hey, we live in separate realities. That's what the Maya is. You know, we share the illusion of sharing, if you know what I mean. But we drive as the only passenger inside our vehicle. See, there's nobody else that can ever be there with us behind the mask. You know? Nobody behind our eyes and us. You know? That's being alone. That's being alone in space, because you see, inside of me, the void of not knowing is as big as the universe outside. I am not absolutely certain of anything. I have never been, and you know what? I don't want to be anymore. I am saved from my mental trip with absolute certainties. Give me a break. I'm not God. I'm not even Einstein. And even he knew that everything is relative. In the mind, you know, subjective and relative. It's a mental trip. If you take any of that serious, whoa, you know, you don't have to eat LSD, you know, you really get a trip. You know, chasing your own shadow. Even if it looks like what you desire. People with a defined Ajna like myself, I know, even if I didn't want to know, that everything seems to be incredibly relative. That's, you know, the best I had before I met human design. Sad, but what to do? You know what I mean? That nobody seems to have a truth that is worth calling an absolute. Just, you know, talk, nice philosophy. I didn't know what to do with my mind. It was a torment. Now, it entertains me. It feeds me. You know. In many ways, it is responsible for the quality of my communication with others. But it does not make decisions in my name. You know what I mean? It is not allowed to misrepresent me. I don't need to be certain of everything. You know what I mean? People with open Ajnas, oh, they want to be certain. You know? They always pretend to be certain because they're driven by this agree, agree. And of course, they know that if you're not certain, who's going to agree? Even you don't agree completely with what you're saying. Because this is the way the world of the not self, the homogenized world, runs. Certainties. You know? People who are certain that the Virgin Mary existed. Do you know what I mean? They're certain. They believe. And they think that belief can take you to certainty of something that you have never experienced yourself. Now, that's being blind. You know, because if you believe in something that you have experienced yourself, it makes, you know how to make sense out of the things that happen to you. But when you believe in things that you have no experience about, well, you're basically a believer. Do you know what I mean? Certainties. And people with an open mind, they want to be certain. They admire people who are certain. You know, they admire people like me who talk consistently, who seem to be able to put two and two together conceptually. And they go like, oh, that was a deep truth. Truth is not deep. Truth is on the surface. It's so on the surface that you get to see it. You don't need to think about it. Even though what we see tends to be inspiring. You know what I mean? It's one of the most powerful ways of stimulation that is there for us humans, what we see. See, but if you're thinking and identifying with what you think, you're not seeing anything. You're not seeing a donkey 2 steps away from you, because you're seeing your future that does not exist somewhere. You're caught in some past that is just a black hole. Just a black hole. There is no certainties if you have an open mind. Mind is not here for certainties or not. Mind is here to communicate. To communicate, first of all. Certainty or uncertainty, that's secondary. That's secondary. It's here to communicate unique truth. Unique truth, because that's the only thing that's worth calling communication. When you speak unique truth, there's always someone listening. If you just talk homogenized opinions and beliefs, everybody's waiting for you to shut up because they have heard that before somewhere else.